All right, and she is here, Kathy Holman, Prairie Wife in Heels, in the studio. Hey, Kathy, how are you?
Good morning. I am loving the sun.
Yes, and aren't we all? And there's going to be a lot of it, at least for the next couple of days.
But so excited.
So our topic today, and you and I have been chatting about it quite a bit, and we kind of got Roger in on it, is whether or not you screen or read reviews or do research on movies before you allow your children to see them. And we have kind of quite a range because you have younger kids and tweens, and I've got older kids, so we've got quite a lot to talk about, and our listeners had quite a lot to say as well.
They did. So. I couldn't believe it. So what actually brought this to the forefront of our conversation is there's a movie that was just released called Show Dogs, and there's two scenes in the movie that really upset people, not just parents, but child protection associations. It's been huge. So the first troubling scene, Frank, who's the main character, tells the dog that he needs to get his privates touched as part of a dog show, and then it just kind of goes from there. And that theme of it's okay to let someone do that.
Yeah, and you just have
go
to go to
your happy place. Yeah,
right.
your happy place. Obviously, for people that have survived child abuse, it was a triggering scene. Not to mention, do we really need to have that?
Well,
in
right,
the movie?
and because that's what abusers do. They groom. Right.
Yep, exactly. No pun intended with it being Show Dogs. But so it actually got to the point where the Show Dogs production company, Global Road Entertainment, issued a statement where they removed those scenes from the film and re-released it.
Good for them for doing that. But
Agreed.
But why was it there in the first place?
Thank you.
I mean, why was this a part of the deal?
How did it pass?
And what was that rated, So sometimes the ratings don't tell you everything, because the ratings are a guideline.
Because it's a kid movie.
Because it's a kid movie.
I'm sitting here looking at it. It's talking dogs who fight crime.
Yeah, it's like the Beverly Hills Chihuahua movies. I wouldn't have thought twice about taking my kids to it. So this is why it's a big deal and why I thought it would be good to talk about it. Because frankly, in 100% transparency, I never have gone to sites to look at what people say about movies. If it's G or PG, I assume it's okay for my kids to watch, especially because usually it's PG because of language. And frankly, my kids maybe hear most of those words at home anyway. Just being honest. Yes. Only daddy says that. So
have you changed your mind about that, though?
Well, there you go. So all this came up, and of course it's all over my Facebook feed and on Twitter, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, maybe just trusting those ratings or what my friends say isn't enough.
Because some people may hold one philosophy where your parenting philosophy is different.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how some scenes can cause long-lasting damage. Because you can't unsee it, right?
So this is a comment from I'm going to murder her name, but Kaizia, and she says, I research everything I can. If it's not reviewed, I watch it myself first. A psychologist I spoke to once told me that one scene in a movie can create an anxiety disorder for a person's whole life. No pressure. No pressure, parents.
So you were a little skeptical about that when we were talking.
I was. I rolled my eyes. I admit it. I rolled my eyes when I read that about the psychologist. But then as we were laughing and talking about it, I realized my older brother saw Jaws when he was a kid and is scared to death of water and refuses to go in the ocean.
Right. And I remember watching Gremlins, and I told you about that, which is kind of, you think it's a cute movie, Mogwai and Bright Light and all that sort of thing. And there's a scene in it where these two terrorists burst into the home and shoot dead with machine guns the whole family in front of, and that has affected me profoundly.
I haven't showered since Psycho.
Yeah.
So I just wear a lot of cologne.
So thank goodness for the cologne.
You don't, especially if you're not expecting that. So if you've got your kids in this movie to see it and you don't know that it's in there, that can profoundly affect it.
Well, and I think this is interesting too. So one of my friends, Nikki, she said usually yes, as far as kind of looking at things. She said her older child is a very sensitive kid, and at almost 6, he's only just starting to enjoy dramatic action scenes with potential for bodily harm. The middle guy is 3.5 and can handle anything. So I think that's an important point too. As parents, we have to know, are our kids more sensitive? Do we have certain kids that are going to be allowed to watch scarier things at a younger age because of who they are?
Yeah.
And who cares, right? We have, like, here's Brian said, I don't have kids, but if I did, I wouldn't censor TV or movies. Besides, they could always go to a friend's and watch it anyway.
Well, there is a point there, which means if you're a parent, you should be watching what your kids' friends are watching.
Or teach your kids, first of all, screen where your kids are going. Are there going to be parents supervising there? And also, I've taught my kids, hey, if one of your friends shows you a video on his phone that isn't appropriate, here's what you can say. If you're at a friend's house and they're doing a video game or something. So once again, it goes to our job to educate. And I think there's kind of surprise, no one answer or solution to this. It depends on your family, your values, because here's another one from Lee. My now grown, well-adjusted kids watched all kinds of movies growing up, and I watched with them. I don't hide anything from my kids, and they asked about something, we talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes you get surprised. I will be the one that stands out to me is when Mary was little. She's 20 now, but when she was little, I took her to see Spy Kids, which I thought this will be cool. She'll love it. It's got a strong little female character, who kicks butt just like her brother does, and so forth. And there was one scene. I confess to Susan, I'm that dad that. And it's always too late when the swear word comes out. But there was one scene where the girl was going to fight, whatever the bad guy was, said, I'm going to kick the out of you. And I thought, where did that come from?
So once again, you saw the rating, you thought it would be good.
Why did they drop that in there? It's little kid crime fighters, who would have thought? And I was kind of ticked off about it, that sort of snuck up on everybody.
I admit we took our kids to see the Jumanji movie, the new one that came out, which is a fabulous movie. It's hilarious, but there is a little bit of sexual humor in there that I was disappointed, just like you, Roger, that same feeling. I was disappointed. It would have been perfectly fine without it. I found myself gritting teeth and hoping my kids were not old enough to understand it, which thankfully there weren't.
Yeah.
But one of my friends pointed out a lot of Disney movies do have that double layer of humor, if not triple and quadruple layer of humor, which there's something to be said for that because
then you can stand to see it along with the kid.
Right. And my friend Sage said, I've started checking Common Sense Media more frequently. I had fond memories of Big with Tom Hanks, so let the kids watch it. And I was mortified because I forgot about the chest grabbing incident. Oops. So that's happened too. I let my kids watch
There's a little bit of swearing in it too.
Well, and I let my kids watch Spaceballs with us because as a kid, I remember that being a hilarious movie. And then, whoops, there's some
Mel
stuff
Brooks,
in there.
Spaceballs.
I know, but I just remember it being funny as a kid. I never picked up on that other stuff.
Well, in Summer Road, I will either screen or read reviews because once you see, you cannot unsee. And I've always believed what you dwell on, you will become. What you let in will mold you. So that's something to think about.
But look at what you just said. Your memories of Spaceball was, that was a funny Mel Brooks movie. It was a takeoff on Star Wars.
Yeah, they had a Mog, half man, half dog.
So how much damage could it have done?
Right?
Well, I think she's probably talking about something a little more profound.
Maybe the graphic violence, which once again, usually if it's PG-13. So here's the deal too. So my kids range in age from 12 to 3, and therein is another conundrum. The 12-year-old can watch stuff, the 3-year-old can't. How do you keep him from being stuck watching My Little Pony all the time?
Right.
And the little kids. So we actually divide and do big kid, little kid movie night every once in a while.
Oh, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so the older kids that can handle it will watch. For example, my kids are only allowed to watch the first 3 Harry Potter movies until they're 10 and have read the books, and then I let them watch the other ones because
they're darker.
Yes,
much
exactly.
Darker.
And it's one thing to read it and another thing to see it. So another point that I wanted to make too is it seems like a lot of moms are the ones that are deciding where to draw the line. And I do have to say my husband has one movie that he will not allow in our house. Do you guys have any guess what cartoon movie it is? Any idea? I wish
Bambi.
we had... What?
Bambi?
You got it.
Yep.
Really?
He will not let my kids watch Bambi because he's an avid hunter, and that's what we eat is elk meat and deer meat, and he refuses to. So he draws the line at Bambi. But
That's
he did
the first
let the
movie
kids.
Mary actually sat through as a child.
Well, and then too, and this is because it's one of my things. I do not get people who bring their 4, 5, 6-year-olds into some R-rated movie where you know that there's sex and you know that there's violence and you know it's rated R and you know these kids are old enough to absorb it. It's not like it's babes in arms and you're trying to get out for the first time since you've had your kid. I mean, what? I'm sorry, but what is wrong with you people?
So those are the people like Zarina, which she says, we don't restrict anything or much. They've had a steady diet of Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Matrix, etc. since birth. There's some parents that feel like it's pretend, it's not real, it's okay. And I guess, you know, this might make some people mad, but I think the Matrix is R, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. I've never seen the Matrix.
And this might make some people mad, but I don't think you should let your kids watch everything.
No.
I don't think it's appropriate. And there's even some superhero movies that have vast amounts of violence that I won't let my kids watch. And I have friends that do. That's their call. I don't think it's okay.
Well, yeah,
I won't let her watch The Matrix because of Keanu Reeves acting. So I prefer actual acting.
Don't hold back, Roger.
But
don't
I mean,
hold back.
you know, why would you bring your kids into a Quentin Tarantino film where they're
I can't even handle those.
blasting?
Yeah.
I mean, no, I can't even handle it either.
I
I just, but not you wouldn't bring your 5-year-old along.
No.
So that's what I'm saying here.
Well, and I think, too, you just made a really good point about the age. I found, nerd alert, I found some statistics that talk about kids under the age of 6 spend about 2 hours a day with screen media. And is that media you pick for them and filter, or is that what you have on in the background? Susan and I were talking about it. My husband and I do not watch any of our shows until the kids are asleep because they're not appropriate. We have the Goldbergs, which we watch as a family, phenomenal, hilarious, appropriate for all ages. But other than that, there's not many sitcoms out there we let them watch.
And you and I are Outlander fans.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's not something you don't watch that with your kids. No. Even when the kids are older, I won't watch that with them.
And you can't even have it on in the background because I tried to watch a grown-up movie the other day because the kids were supposed to be playing outside, and I was making birthday cupcakes, and they came in like 20 times to get something, and I ended up just forget about it. Just turned it off because it wasn't appropriate for them to even get.
They knew when the good scenes were.
It seemed right. They came every time the F-bomb was dropped in that movie. And the kid was walking in the door.
You can take this whole conversation and stretch it out into television as well.
Yeah.
Because it's so, it's so pervasive. And there's, they have access to Netflix and Hulu and whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd like to say, yes, I know what my children are watching at all times. But I don't know how many times I've walked into a room where my kids who are older, are watching something. And I always walk in when they're dropping the F-bomb, or always walk in when it's something just totally inappropriate. And I go, what in the heck are you guys That's not what I say.
Yeah.
What are you guys watching? What are you watching?
Well, and here it says, children under the age of 6, 77% turn on the TV by themselves.
Yeah.
77% of them can just turn it on their own. And I know my kids go and turn on Netflix cartoons Saturday morning. I have parental controls set up so they can only watch kid stuff that's appropriate. But I have to say, the reason I wanted to talk about this is I wholeheartedly admit that I was not doing this. I was, like I said, paying attention to G rating and PG and assumed it was okay. I would look quick and say, okay, this is a PG movie. Yep, you guys can watch it, and go head out of the room to do whatever I was doing. So I admit this was an eye-opener for me that I need to be more aware, because it's not just about language. It's about those concepts that maybe they are not ready for. So that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I think there's other people like me who just assumed G, PG.
Right.
It's okay.
There you go. So quick before we go, I know that you have some resources for us.
I do. Once again, the nerd in me, and also, we like to educate you guys, leave you with a little bit of knowledge and resources. So here's 3 websites that, just through asking all my friends that do this and have been doing this. commonsensemedia.org seems to be the number one place that people go to.
Yes, I hear that a lot.
Yes, commonsensemedia.org. Then we have pluggedin.com.
Okay.
And both of those are free. And then there's kidsinmind.com, and they have some of their reviews are free, and the other ones you have to sign up to get. But they actually go in and rate movies on violence, sexual content, language. They have a huge rating scale they designed so you can go and see right away, get a really good picture of that.
And is Movie Moms still out there too?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's a good one. We use that a lot.
Yep.
Very good.
That'll let you know when Bambi swears up a storm and his mom gets killed.
That's right.
No Bambi in my house.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kathy Holman, Prairie Wife in Heels, and we've done it again. So
right.
Thanks, and be sure to tune in next Friday at 9:15. We'll have another conversation.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.